Hi there and welcome to another workout for you to row along to, where I row a session on this lovely machine and you row along with me while I keep you company with various chat about technique, motivation, and then on to my dinner plans and just anything just to keep us going, especially as being today is a 45-minute workout, so there's lots and lots of talking to be done. And we're going to do this as what I call a mountain, so we're going to do it as a stroke rate up and down. Okay, so we'll start off at 18 strokes a minute, then we'll do 20, 22, then back down to 20, then 18, then we'll go back up to 20, 22, and then 20 and 18. And as long as I've done my maths right, that should be 9 intervals, and they're all going to be split into 5 minutes each with no rest in between. Now, if my maths is wrong, we may end up having to adjust the stroke rate as we go and add on an extra one, but I'm pretty sure that's 9 of them. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Pace-wise, you're going to do your 18 strokes a minute and run about 2k plus 20 pace, which is run about 5 out of 10 effort if that's how you do things. You're going to go a little bit harder, 2 seconds faster for the 20 strokes a minute, and then a little bit harder again for the 22s by like 2 seconds faster again. So you're going to be round about 2k plus 16 pace at that point, and probably run about 6 or 7 out of 10 from an effort point of view. Now, because this is a 45-minute workout, your effort will get tougher as you get towards this workout, but I want you to peg these paces that you think you start off at on this workout and hold them through the entire workout, okay? I don't want you to slow right back down, all right? But I'll talk to you more about this stuff when we get into it. As it is, this intro's gone on way too long, hasn't it? Yes, John. So let's get into a 4-minute warm-up first, just to make sure our body is okay to start off this row. And we always start off by setting up our machine. On the concept here, that means going to drag factor and setting that to where you want it to be. If you don't know about drag factor, then please check out the video I have on this channel. But if you know about drag factor, but you don't know where to set it to around about 130 for the time being, and then you can adjust from there. Next up, set your monitor to eye height so you don't have to look up and you don't have to look down. And finally, set those foot straps to a point where you can get to the front of the machine and your shins point vertically. Now, the reason I'm not showing you what to do is when I wear these shoes, I have to set the foot plates to 1 hole showing, but I row in socks, and then I have to do it 3 holes showing. So please always adjust depending on what your footwear is, okay? Don't just think I row at 3 holes showing, and so therefore that's how I always row. Adjust everything depending on what your current feet, whatever, or footwear, not feet. You don't have current feet, do you? What's he on about? Current feet. I'm not Wurzel Gummidge. There's a reference that most of you won't get. So, right, 4-minute warm-up. We're going to do this round about 20 strokes a minute, and you're just going to start off with enough of a push from your feet that you can connect the power to the handle and you can think about your body starting to move, okay? So here we go then. Warm up in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So, what I mean is that rowing is a pushing sport. You push the machine away with your feet, okay? Now, obviously, that's not going to do much. So you have to connect that power from your feet through your body and into your hands in order for the handle to make the flywheel move. And so, what you're thinking about now is just pushing with the feet and connecting the handle at the same time. And if you have a forward tilt over your hips, then the power from your legs as you push into the machine will flow up through your body, through your posterior chain, into your straight arms, and into the flywheel. But it helps to get that timing right. If you push too soon with the feet, what happens is your backside is halfway to Guam before your hands connect to the handle. Or if you pull too soon, then you lose the power from your legs and you lose the power from your back swinging from that forwards tilt to a backwards tilt. And that's a very, very quick look at technique, which I will unpack further in the main row. But don't worry, I'll talk about other stuff. I'm not just going to talk about technique. In 10 seconds time, we're going to put 1 foot on the ground and then continue rowing. So after this stroke, put 1 foot on the ground and then continue to row with the foot that is still strapped in. Now, this just helps open up your hips. It helps give a little bit more oomph to the leg you have strapped in, and just the flexibility into the front of the machine. You can work on that forward tilt and backward tilt a little easier with just one leg in. Swap feet and continue with the other leg. And if you're kind of putting in around about the same amount of effort from this leg, just take a look at your pace and see if it's dramatically different. A couple of seconds is okay, but if you're like 10 seconds different in pace, you maybe have a bit of a muscle imbalance going on. 2 more, 1 more, and then we're going to put both legs back in. Legs straight, forward tilt, and then just back and arms only. Just swing over your back, pull in your arms, out with your arms, and then swing back over your back. Okay, so this is really important for opening up those hips, getting that power from your back, and then finishing with your arms. Now let's roll into the front, straight arms, forward tilt, and press out with your legs. Hold that forward tilt, hold those straight arms, and just push out from the front. This is another opportunity to work on that timing of the connection of your feet to the handle, connecting to the flywheel as you just push from the front. You don't have to worry about pushing too hard. Just think about that angle and that connection. Ooh, there we go. And that's the warm up all done. Keep on moving up and down the rail, have a quick drink. I'll quickly describe one more time what it is we're doing today, and then we'll get into the main session. Okay then, so today's workout is going to be a 45-minute row broken down into 5-minute chunks. No rest in between, so it's a solid 45-minute row. However, you are going to do 18 strokes a minute, then 20, 22, 20, 18, 20, 22, 20, 18 strokes per minute. Okay, so it's going to be a nice little up and down. You work a little bit harder, then a little bit easier, a little bit harder, a little bit easier, because you're going to start off the 18 strokes a minute at 2k plus 20 pace, which is around about 5 out of 10 effort. Then go 2 seconds faster for the 20 strokes a minute, 2 seconds faster again for the 22, and then you're going to go 2 seconds slower for the 20 and 2 seconds slower again for the 18, and then repeat the process. Okay, simple, but 45 minutes long, so it's going to be a good old workout. You're certainly going to feel like you've had a good day out on the rowing machine. Okay, so make sure and have a quick last drink before we start. Oh, you missed a fly, you don't get any. If you do need to stop and have a drink at any point, stop and have a drink, okay? Although the idea is to get through this in 45 minutes without stopping, I don't want you to turn into a dehydrated prune just because you're like, I have to make 45 minutes. Okay, so sunglasses on again. Whoosh. Hope you don't mind. I know it's a bit rude. You can't see my eyes, but what do you care? So follow me for stroke rate, and I'll keep you right through the 5-minute changes. So here we go then. 18 strokes a minute, 2k plus 20 pace in 3, 2, 1. Go. Now 18 strokes a minute is a little bit awkward. You can't really look at the counter and count down in whole numbers to hold the stroke rate. But like I say, if you just follow me, then I'll keep you right. On the video, that just means watching me, and then when I take a stroke, you take a stroke. On the podcast, I'm afraid that means that you have to listen out for the whoosh of my flywheel and also kind of my speech pattern, because I do tend to talk around the drive phase of the stroke. But hopefully, now that we're a minute into this row, I'm kind of hoping you'll have found the rhythm and you won't really need to be looking at me or concentrating on the sound of my flywheel in order to hit your stroke rate. Because the truth is, as long as you have a good rhythm, a good flow to your stroke, once you hit your rate, it shouldn't be too much of a trial to hold it. You'll maybe slip one stroke up or down from time to time, but hopefully you're not bouncing between like 18, 16, 20. And that's because it's all about the flow through the stroke and the rhythm of how you take each stroke. So for these low rates, you want to think about a good powerful drive followed by a recovery that takes twice as long. We'll see this properly, or more obviously, as we go to the 20 strokes a minute intervals, because then it's just 1 second drive, 2 seconds recover. But here, it's effectively 1.1 second drive, 2.2 seconds recover. And that's the flow that gives you your rhythm. And then if you can think about continually moving through your stroke, then that flow will be much easier. There's never a point when I'm stopped. I'm not holding the handle against my chest as I pull it in. I'm not jerking the handle forwards as I tilt into that forward lean, and I'm not holding position in the catch before I drive. Each feeds into each other, almost like Tai Chi or a dance. And the reason I've gone straight into saying that is because I've been watching quite a lot of videos of people rowing in gyms or at CrossFit events or training, or even high rocks training or events. And I've started to see some really basic flaws, problems with people's strokes. And it starts with that jerky phasing of the stroke. Okay, 2 more strokes here. And then let's go up to 20 strokes a minute. So just a little bit harder push from the legs will accelerate your drive phase just a tiny amount, which you then accelerate your recovery by just a tiny amount, and that should take your stroke rate up to 20 strokes a minute. And because of that added power and the fact you're rowing at 20 strokes a minute now, your pace should have jumped up by 2 seconds without you really needing to think about it. You certainly, I hope, won't be struggling to find that pace as long as your stroke rate is increased. So anyway, the First major thing I saw was very jerky strokes, holding the handle into their chest at the back and then racing forwards, which is a really, really easy way to exhaust yourself prematurely. Use the full 2 seconds to slide forwards and recover. After all, that's why it's called the recovery phase. And I absolutely blew my pace for a while there as well, having demonstrated that. But the other thing that I keep seeing is people who don't use their back in the stroke. Now, I've just made a video about this, so apologies if this is repeat information, but it's worth repeating. I tend to see people rowing either very upright with absolutely no movement to their back, or I see people launching in and then yanking on the back or yanking on the handle, and all of that swing from from forwards to backwards goes nowhere near the machine. Because the ideal is that you come into the front of the machine with a forwards tilt over your hips, and then you push your feet into the machine while holding that forward tilt and your arms straight. Then when your legs are halfway done on the drive, that is when you swing your back from the forward tilt to the backwards tilt. And then as you start that swing, that's when you finally pull in your arms. So your arms are last, not first. Okay, 3 more strokes, then we'll go up to 22s. Here we go, 22 strokes a minute. So a little bit more of a push, but not massive. Not so much that you're up at 24 strokes a minute, and not so much that you are blowing your pace guide. Now, it's taken me about 30 seconds to get comfortable with pace and stroke rate here, so don't worry if it takes a few strokes. 22 is even more awkward than 18, or at least, well, it is for me. So anyway, that backswing, lots of people just have a technique which totally misses it out. And what you should do, wait until today's row is finished, but just sit on the machine, legs straight, arms straight, and just use your back to pivot over your hips from the forwards tilt to a backwards tilt. So no legs, no arms, just the swing of over your hips, generating power into the machine. And take a look at how fast you're going by doing that. And then ask yourself, is that really power that you want to just be throwing away? Maybe your current goal is to be a faster rower over like a 500 meters, 1k, even 2k. Then the watts, I slowed down stroke rate, there we go. The watts that you are throwing away by not swinging over your back could be huge for those short, fast rows. But then, even if you are looking to row 10k in 40 minutes, or just looking to complete an hour on the machine, throwing away that power really harms your efficiency, and therefore the amount of energy that you have available for your row. Which means on that 60-minute row, you could tire out way too soon because you're only really using your legs a bit lackluster, and then your arms. So just think about your backswing. Righty, coming in on our first change down. One more stroke. Down to 20 strokes per minute. This should feel a nice bit slower, but try to avoid the temptation of backing off too much pace. So you should be back to round about the pace that you were rowing 20 strokes a minute at last time round. And yeah, we're past 15 minutes in to this row, and we have been increasing effort so far. So don't worry if this feels a little bit harder than it did the last time round. That's just fatigue and cardiac drift coming into play. And it's one of the reasons this is such a good session, is it's not only about the cardio benefits of 45 minutes worth of lower intensity rowing, but the control that you'll have over your stroke is really valuable. Again, going into that hour time trial, if you want to have in your toolbox the ability to use your stroke rate to change your pace, hopefully that's by increasing it in order to go faster. But there are times where you just need to ease off just a couple of seconds for a minute or so, because maybe you got a bit over eager and you need just to back off a little bit. You use stroke rate to do that rather than just attenuating how much push you put in at the same rate. Because really, rowing is about your body, but also about your mind. Your mind will often play tricks on you, tell you that you're tired when you're not. So if you can work out a strategy that fools your brain into thinking it's getting a wee rest, when in fact it's only getting a very small reprieve, then hopefully you can then charge on back to the pace you should be rowing at. Okay, so 7 strokes to go, and then we're back to 18 again, and then we start all over again. 2 more. All right, down to 18. Because, listen, it's quite a merciless sport. You're faced with a monitor that tells you stroke by stroke how well you're doing. It's not like a marathon where it's like every mile you'll work out your split time. Here, stroke by stroke, which is great when you are achieving and hitting your goals and going fast. But when you're in a longer row, or if you're struggling a little bit, man, it's tough. And that's where training goals and why you're training, how you're training comes into play. So a session like this should be a long, low intensity row that builds your core fitness and your control on the machine, because you should be doing this at a pace that is manageable, even when you start to get a little bit fatigued. The pace should be low intensity enough that you can continue and you don't have to back off. Fair enough, if you're not used to rowing 45-minute workouts, then I'll accept if you slow down. But if you are, this should just feel like a recovery row. And it's rows like this that give you the fitness and let you recover enough to have the energy to do the fast stuff. Fast, okay? So there's no point doing a session like this and pushing the pace, moving it away from a low intensity row if you are just going to follow it up with a high intensity row. If you're going to push this one, count it in your diary as a top tier high intensity workout, and make sure your next one is a low intensity recovery row, because otherwise you're kind of in no man's land where you're pushing these so fast you don't get the recovery benefits from it, but then you're so tired when it comes to doing the proper top tier high intensity workout that you can't hit that one as hard as it needs to be hit. So therefore you don't get the benefits of that session either. But then you just look at how you program everything you do. Like right now, I'm doing quite a lot of fast rowing, fast ski erg, and then mixing them up with sandbag lunges, farmer's carries and stuff. Oh, hang on, one more stroke. Let's go up to 20 and 2 seconds faster. So it's kind of like high rocks training that I'm doing. If you don't know about high rocks, just search the internet, HYROX. I got quite fascinated with it during lockdown, and although I haven't been training for it much this year, I got the bug again. But what it means is that every high rocks training session I do is top tier max effort, when my heart rate's nudging max the whole time. So then my standalone rowing sessions, or if I take a complete different approach and go for a Zwift bike ride, then I make sure that these are low intensity so that I can recover for the next high rocks based session. And don't worry, I'm not about to leave you for the world of high rocks. I was just looking round for some motivation for why I'm training. I mean, if I look at the various motivations I've had for doing this, when I first started, well, we'll ignore when I first started just using it as cardio training as a squash player and skip to 2013. I was first rowing just for fitness and weight loss. I saw that improving real quick. And then a year later, somebody pointed out that for my age and weight, I should start competing in indoor rowing competitions because there was a good chance I'd win. And they were right. So from age 39 to about 43, all my training was focused around racing or trying to break the 1,000 metre British and world record, which I managed. Don't have it anymore though. Boo. And then 2018, I had a bit of an accident with a knife, cut my hand quite badly. Took quite a long time to heal and really lost that top competitor edge, and I had to look at other reasons to continue to train in order to build back that edge again. Hang on, 3 more strokes to go. 3, 2, 1, here we go. 22 strokes a minute, a bit more of a push. Couple of seconds faster. Now, weirdly, I'm finding these 22s a lot easier than I was just finding the 20s. So it shows how you can use stroke rate to help with your speed and fitness. But yeah, so my motivation changed. It all became about rehab and recovery, which then led into making these videos for RowAlong. Past couple of years then, I've continued my rehab while making these videos for you. And now I'm hoping I can get back to some form of competition, which goes back to the high rocks thing, where it's not really just about a different form of competition. It's about just making my rowing training different, serving another purpose, able to mix it up, change things. Because I said, had about 5 years of solid 1K and 2K training, and trust me, that gets a bit tiresome after a while, even when you're winning. And so I'm pretty sure that 9 years on from starting rowing, if I was still just training for 1 and 2K races, I'd have burnt out by now. I'd be like, I can't face another 8 times 2 minutes with a 1 minute rest session. And so by just looking slightly to the left of middle, especially over summer when there aren't any races, and training differently, adding in these farmer's carries, lunges, bungee jumps, to rows, ski ergs, and 1K runs, it's energized me again. And it means I can look at sessions like this as the core foundation fitness improving workout to help my other training, instead of just a long slog, which I'm sure you'll agree they can feel like. Okay, 3 strokes. Last one. Back down to 20s. And wouldn't you know it, I got my maths right. We've got this 5 minutes at 20, followed by another 5 minutes at 18, and then we're all done. And then, I don't know what time is actually, let's check, 4:30. I've got about an hour before I have to start cooking dinner for Julie and the kids, which tonight is our buffet style meal, which we call an Ibiza dinner, because it's like the buffet that we had at the all-inclusive holiday we went to in Ibiza a few years back. To be fair, every all-inclusive holiday we've been on has been a buffet, but for some reason the Ibiza one stuck. So it's a mixture of cold meats, cheeses, pasta, salad, a nice quiche, some mini sausages and mini sausage rolls, which just turns it into party food really. And then we just help ourselves. Julie and I tend to go for the healthier stuff. The kids go for the sausages and pasta. That's okay. It's the summer holidays. They're being nice and active. Holly's away swimming. Jamie's away for a long walk with friends, so as far as I'm concerned, they're burning off enough energy for this meal, and so am I. I don't know what today's calorie burn will be, but I'm going to figure about 500, which will hopefully offset any cheese and stuff that I have. What you got to eat, as long as I'm not sinking a whole pizza and some chocolate cake, I think I'm doing okay. Right, 1 minute left at this rate and pace. So we're in the closing stretch. Once we hit those 18s, we'll have the finish line in our sights. I'm hoping that you manage to stick with me on today's row, and you agree with me about the point of it, that using it as a good low intensity row should help you do your next ones faster. Okay, one more. Down to 18. But like I say, 45 minutes can take its toll, even if you're sticking to the pace guide. So there's no harm in just treating this as a mid or top tier row and following it up with either another bottom tier low intensity row or even a rest day. Never underestimate the power of a rest day. Sometimes the hardest row, after all, is the row you don't do. When you just flick the sensible switch in your brain and say, you know what, I can feel that my body is a bit of a low ebb. I need a rest day. even if your ego and your diary tell you otherwise. If your body is tired and crying out for a rest, give it that rest. Same as if your body is crying out for a slice of pizza, then unless you have real good reasons not to, sometimes that happiness index you get from allowing yourself that one slice of pizza is enough to keep you eating responsibly for the next few weeks. But the moment you start resenting eating well or exercising, that's when things can start to crumble around you, and you start to kind of self-destruct. You sneak in a biscuit thinking it's not going to matter, but it does, because the next day you sneak in another biscuit, and then if you're not able to stop that downward spiral, you can really derail yourself. I mean, then it just takes a bit of a moment of self-discipline to get back on it again. But it's best not to push yourself off. And again, I find when I go on holiday, because I will then eat the food that's there, I will have a couple of glasses of wine. It then means when I come back to training, I'm fine with it. I've had literally had a holiday from my structured eating and training. And I am eager. I look forward to getting back to it again, because I can feel how rubbish it is, and my body just gets sluggish, get a bit doughy around the middle, and I can look forward to reversing what I did. Okay, 3 more strokes. Whew. Last one. Whew. Now I can feel towards the end there that as I was getting tired, my technique was slipping. And actually, ironically, having spoken about it earlier on in the row, it was my back that was swinging too quick. A little butt scoot and a back swing too quick. So as we hit the 2-minute cooldown, what's important is to try to do this with your ideal technique again. Try and undo the memory of how you may just have been rowing. So, cool down. In 3, 2, 1, go. So, just think about technique again. Don't have to be going too hard. Let yourself cool down here. So, straight arms, forward tilt, push with the feet, holding that forward tilt and straight arms. It's only when you are halfway through that leg drive that you finally swing the back and then pull in the arms. Then release the arms to trigger the forward tilt. Once your forward tilt has happened, your arms will be well past your knees, and all you have to do is bend those knees to slide effortlessly to the front of the machine again. There's no yanking on the straps. In fact, there we go. That's me out of the straps, and I'm not falling off the back of the machine, nor am I beached at the back of the machine because I can't pull myself forwards. I'm just using my arms and body momentum and the knee bend to come forwards. And then by getting all the power from my legs into the machine and pointing my toes to the front of the machine, all my momentum is going in to the flywheel, and that's why I'm not falling off the back. I mean, there's an element of core stability at the back too, bracing here, but that's all it is. Okay, one more stroke. Oh, right. Now you don't have to stop cooling down there. You can, of course, continue to cool down. If that's you all done and you're about to go for a shower, please make sure to at least stretch your quads, maybe your glutes and your hamstrings. Don't do it in the shower, don't wait to slip and fall over. Or if you do it in the shower, do be very careful. Because I'll admit I stretch my hamstrings in the shower. But, yeah, or you can either join Stretchy John and do what he's doing, or follow me and sit on the machine and do stretching here if you don't have the space. So I start by putting my legs straight and then just folding forwards to stretch those hamstrings. So you're perched on the edge of the seat, folding forwards, and then how you point your toes can change where you're stretching into your hamstrings, okay? If you want to hold your toes, you can. I don't recommend actually pulling your feet towards you, but just adjust. I mean, feet going forwards changes how the stretch is. It also goes down the front of your shin as well. Feet towards you will tend to be more underneath your knees and your hamstrings a bit harder. Then to do glutes, put one leg on the rail, put the other foot over, let it kind of hover, and then bring this knee towards you. Hold on to the back of the machine. That little bit of a rotation and then pulling your knee towards you will then get into those glutes. You can get a nice wee stretch there. There's a little bit of stability needed here. Don't want you to fall off the machine, please. Okay, then swap feet. So one up on the rail, hover the other one over, pull the knee across, hold on to the back, get that rotation, and then where you put this other foot can adjust where that stretch happens into your glutes as well. As does how much of a pull you put across your glutes, your knee, sorry, using your ankle as a fulcrum. So how much you do that, adjust that stretch. Next we're going to do, let's do quads. Chances are my head's going to pop out the top of the screen here, so apologies if it does. So just flick that ankle up, hold it against your backside. Make sure as you flick that one up, you don't kick the seat. Then if you do find that you're wobbling, you can quickly just tap onto the monitor and to steady yourself. Whoop. Just as I was literally about to say, and my stability is getting better, so I've not needed to do that, and I actually then fell into the monitor. And then step over, watch as you flick up your foot that you don't kick your shoes or the seat. Oh, and he falls. There we go. And do this one for a while. And try and straighten up a little bit so you get a straight line going down your quad. If you're all hunched over, it can change where that stretch into your quad is. You want to make sure that these are getting a nice little stretch, because you do use your quads quite a lot in rowing, it must be said. Then for hip flexors, get down next to the machine, one knee on the floor, one leg forwards, and then you shift the hip of the knee that's down on the ground. You kind of push that forwards, okay? And that then, let's do the other way around. This would be simpler, wouldn't it? Idiot. So you push this hip forwards. Oops. All right. Rolled right over the decking there, that hurt. There you go, and you should feel right down your hip flexor that's getting a nice stretch right down here. If you adjust the angle of that front foot, it will adjust where you're getting the stretch into your hip flexor as well. I already did the first one, so we can skip on to the next bits. Let's do forearms. Go into a nice praying position. Push your hands together and you'll feel in your forearms, you're getting a nice stretch in there. I'm racing through these, I'm afraid, sorry. Take more time over these if you wish. I'm just trying to get through them all, because otherwise, the last time I did this, I think it was like 13 minutes I did it for. And stretchage on up in the top corner was in very slow-mo, trying to do it all. Shoulders, bring it right across. Use this arm to kind of pull it across, much like what you're doing in the glutes, so you're now doing it with your shoulders. Comes across your body, you should feel right up in there. Nice little stretch. Same with that one. Bring it across. Oh, I did have a good lat stretch the other day. I can't remember what it was. I'll have to find out what it was. I'll try and remember what it is for the next row. Good one for the lats. Biceps, if you want to do them. So go into a nice flying position. Oh, I'm flying, but then rotate your thumbs outwards. And this stretches your long bicep head. And then, yeah, does that. So that rotation out of your thumbs is really important in order to get that. And then what's left? Well, triceps. So just bring that hand down your back. And you can either push this arm back with your other arm, or if you have the flexibility, you can bring that hand up behind you. I can't quite make it. I've got rubbish shoulders. And that'll help stretch your triceps. Same with the other arm. Oh, which might not actually quite tight today. Don't know if that's from the high rocks training I've been doing, or maybe I've got some kind of weird tweak going on with my technique. Maybe I'm a little bit too tense as I come forwards. Who knows? There we go. And that's all the stretches that I do. Like I said, I race through them here, but hopefully that at least shows you how you can stretch. I've got big ridges in my knees now from kneeling on the decking. Ow. Hopefully that shows you how you can stretch in a gym just without having to have a mat next to you and that kind of stuff. But aside from all that, I do hope you enjoyed today's row. It was a nice long one, a little bit of variation with stroke rates. Definitely towards the end of it, certainly for me, I was starting to get a little bit ragged. Like I said, my technique was going a bit, I was getting a bit tired. It was quite, actually to be honest, I'm quite pleased that I was getting a bit tired. It shows that I was working at the rate I wanted to be working at, so good news for me. Hopefully it was for you as well. Please leave me some kind of comment, let me know how you got on with it. Let me know if you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you have any feedback at all for this kind of stuff, whether you think I should stop doing the stretching on the machine at the end or whatever, whether I should talk more about food, who knows. One thing I have forgotten is the hashtag. I've not said a hashtag for ages. So because I talked about it, and it's don't worry, like I said, you're not going to lose me to it. I'm not going to suddenly just make everything about high rocks training. But because I spoke about it, then let's just have the hashtag as high rocks and see if anyone actually from the high rocks world actually goes, who's this guy? So HYROX, high rocks. And that way you can let me know you got this far into the video. Thanks very much. So thank you so much for spending this past, well, it must be around about an hour by now with me. So I really appreciate you letting me into your world for that hour. Do check out some of my other videos, and I will hopefully see you in one of them sometime soon. Until then, be well. Bye-bye.